Why don't we just wait here a little while, see what happens? Here's your look at the new NECA toys, The Thing Ultimate McCready Last Stand. In the winter of 1982, a 12-man research team at a remote Antarctic research station discovers an alien buried in the snow for over 100,000 years. Once unfrozen, the form-changing alien wreaks havoc, creates terror, and becomes one of them. While McCready chats it up with Childs, let's grab the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. Last Stand McCready is actually about 7 inches in height. Actually, to be exact, he's about 6 3/4 of an inch in height. Or the figure is going to be about 17 centimeters tall. A big thank you to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide this sample of Last Stand McCready that we could have a look in this review, marking now the third McCready figure that the company has released. The first one being Outpost 31, and shortly right after that we also got ourselves Station Survival McCready. Using a lot of the same mold elements, you can see like the lower legs and boots, for example, are still the same. The jacket also is something that's shared, although with the newer one, the Last Stand release, he does have strapped on to the front of his torso some sticks of dynamite. And while, yes, still using the same body, to the credit at least of NECA, each one of the McCreadys have all come included with their own respected accessories. My favorite really being Station Survival, because not only did it have the blood test, but it also as well came included with the flame torch. The flamethrower is not, though, included with this release, but you do get yourself some Molotov cocktails. You get actually several of these. Just picking up the bottles, these will be the first things that we actually have a look at. You get 4 of them already that have the rags installed. I'm sure you're going to see probably not something you'd be wanting drinking inside unless you're going to be offering up the drink to Childs. Oh, I was suspected that Childs was really the thing in the end of the movie. Do you agree with that? Let me know down below in the comments section. But the Molotov cocktails seem to have rags of various lengths. These are all softer plastic, so you want to be a little bit careful that they don't rip in the process. But while he does come include with 4 of these, he comes with one bottle that doesn't actually have the rag inside. And though while for a second I thought this may have been the drink that he offers up Childs at the end, I think the bottle was a little bit different. The label also is something that was on the front of the bottle. This is just basically a glass bottle. All of these, though, by the way, can be stored on the figure. I guess just before we do that, he has also one other one, too. And this, again, is not one that you will want to be drinking, but when lit, can cause some quite destructive measures. Now, again, all of these can be stored on the figure. You're just going to move the figure around. I say all of these. Really, technically, you only get 3 slots. 2 slots are for more the regular bottles. You can actually you'll take the ones that have the rags. Those slide in. Try to get them as far down as really you can. And the other side, and then you get the one a section on the back here that basically stores the rectangular bottle, and that just fits also into the pouch. Unfortunately, though, by adding these things, it does cause then problems when it comes to rotating this figure's arms. You can kind of tuck this in and just kind of bring his arm around. But the problem is always, like, when these bottles are in place, this one arm is always going to have a tough time trying to move around. And we'll just actually put him down here for right now. One of the other accessories that come included with the figure is about the only accessory that I can see that was part of another release of McCready. It's actually his handgun. I believe it was Station Survival. I'm going to bring back in that gun so you guys can see. It looks to be identical to one another and has been equally painted. Although I will say, though, the handle of the newer Last Stand has notably more brown to it. And the one that we got before from Station Survival, unless I've got these flipped around, has a more lighter brown. Other than that, though, it seems to be the exact same mold. That seems to be the only thing that is shared with this McCready with all the others. The other 2 have all been respectively come included with their own weapons, for example, the shotguns. This guy doesn't come in really included with any other thing, like I said, other than his gun. The gun also can be stored on the figure's body. Located on the side here, you have a holster. You just have to kind of unstrap the holster, unpeg it. And then once, actually, you don't even need to unstrap it. Unstrapping it would definitely break it. You don't want to do that. This basically just houses on the side of the holster, and you have the figure displayed with that. Yes, don't rip that, whatever you do. The figure also comes included with, I guess technically, one thing he was also coming included with that I think the other figures also had as well, is the same swappable hands. Right now he has gloved hands. If you did want to display him, though, with regular, like, skin hands, that sounds strange to describe it like that, but he also has one for holding the gun, he has one for holding the torch, and then he also has one as well for, again, holding the gun. It's just the mirror flip to it on the opposite side. Changing out the hands is just a case of taking the hand right now and just removing it. And then also as well, you're going to want to make sure that you remove this part, because of course that's part of the glove. It wouldn't make any sense if he's taking off his gloves and he leaves still the part that's, on top of his forearm. So we're just going to go ahead and remove these right now. I think for me, I'm going to probably display, I think I'm going to be displaying him really with the gloves, especially if I plan to have him in a scene more outside. He's definitely going to want to keep his hands warm. The figure also comes included with his hat, and in all the cases, we've gotten the same hat, so again, I'm kind of backpedaling a bit by saying it was the only one accessory he came included with. This is also one of the other hats that he came included with. I think this one was with Station Survival. It might have very well have been the original Outpost 31 McCready, but it is the exact same hat. The only thing that's really different is that they frosted now white on the top and they frosted white on the sides to make it look like he's been outside. That seems to be the only thing. And, again, it straps the exact same way either on his head or, again, you can have it just, again, behind his head if you wanted to have the figure displayed that way. Some other things that the figure comes also included with involves me reporting some sad news. He comes included with a lantern. That's not necessarily the sad news. By the way, it's not the same lantern that came included with this one. I think this is the Station Survival lantern. A little bit bigger this time around. Unfortunately, though, while this one does have the handle, this handle is MIA. Maybe the handle is the thing. I don't know. Has anybody seen the handle lately? Has anybody been talking to the handle lately? Okay, nobody. Unfortunately, though, while I was taking this out of the tray, the handle part of this is somewhere on the floor. I'm going to have to go looking for it afterwards. It's the only thing, unfortunately, that is now missing on this, but it's a really overall nice-looking lantern. Normally, he would have had the means to just kind of carry it around with him, but unfortunately, he can't just because, again, like the handle, it's somewhere. Who has been talking to the handle? Wait, there's a guy sneaking out right now. Everybody stop him. I think he might be in on this as well. Okay. The figure does also come included with a flare. The flare has already been lit, and you can see it's emitting a smoke. Starts kind of like a white color down below where they've painted it, but it leaves off a trail behind of more of a frosted pink. On the end, there's a little bit more of a translucency to it, but it's a really nice little flare displayed with the figure. He also as well comes included with a detonator. The detonator looks to be made of wood. It has a little handle to it. It's nicely been painted, but it also has as well, would you call this the plunger? I don't know enough about detonating things. Thank goodness for that. But he has the little, of course, the draw part up that you would then push down to make things go bluey or blowy. So he comes included with that. And then the last thing that the figure also comes included with as well is his alternate head sculpt. Now, I did think that at one point this was going to be the same head sculpt that we got with the Station Survival McCready, but in fact, bringing in the two heads, you can see it is in fact a different head sculpt. This did have visible teeth, sure, but it didn't have more of the angrier expression that comes included now with the Last Stand McCready. Hair is about the sculpted the same. I mean, if you really also wanted to, you could just pop the head off this one. You could replace it with this one also as well. Or hey, why not? Because they seem to be using all the same ball joints. If again you wanted just to use it with the original McCready, just pop the head in place, and you can just use it with that head sculpt as well. Yeah, so one of the benefits of the fact that NECA is using the bodies again means that, I'm just not knocking things off. It does mean though that you can easily then swap the heads out. I do think that it's one of the better looking heads that we've gotten for McCready. Does it bear likeness to Kurt Russell? It's missing a little bit. But I will say, though, like between that and the Last Stand or the Station Survival McCready, I'm even getting tongue twisted thinking about it. Between the two, I think these are the two best head sculpts that we've gotten. If, of course, that's the route that you wanted to go. Now, he has, as of right now, I'm just going to move his arm out of the way so we can get these Molotov cocktails out of there. Just because I know they're going to be wreaking havoc. Let's just pull that one out. Oh, did I actually? Oh, I think I did. I'm going to have to glue that one back in place. I did already mention, unfortunately with these, they're very loosely attached onto the end of it. At least I've got some extra Molotovs to work with, but boy, that's a bit of a bummer. We'll just put that to the side and carefully removing this one. With having this as far down as it is, you really want to be careful, especially the circular ones, because there's really less to hold on to. Be careful when it comes to removing those. Now, he has one other thing, and that is, of course, the hooded head sculpt. To bring back then the other ones that we did get from before, the Outpost 31 McCready had this head sculpt, and it also had, if I can grab it, it also had this head sculpt here as well. It doesn't look to be the same. I thought maybe as well it could have been the same one that was used for station survival, and it isn't. So it seems to be that they are using different heads once again. If you do prefer to have your McCready displayed with the hood, again, just to bring back in the other two head sculpts, if I can actually hold on to both here. Grab the arm, grab the arm. There we go. There's the three hooded heads, and the only other one that we don't have here because I don't have enough hands is the one that actually has the closed mouth that came included with the Outpost 31. So again, looks to be the case that they are using different heads for the McCready's release. So not using really anything again when it comes to the heads. Now for the hat, going back to the hat, you can have it displayed on his existing head. You want to do it in such a way, of course, that the little strings that he has isn't going to be blocking the front of his face. You can also put that down like this. Or also, if you want to, like in the movie, you can also have it running down the back of his head. Although, honestly, it works a little bit better with the unhelmeted or the unhooded head, if you want to have the figure displayed with the hat on the back of his head instead. Changing out the heads, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the one that we have right now. There we go. And we're just going to replace it with the defaulted or the alternate head sculpt. Just going to make sure that's snapped all the way in there. And I guess also if you wanted to, just take that off for right now. Put the hat back there. And then we'll just snap the head just on top of the ball joint. So now he's got the hat displayed on the back of the figure's body. I really like this head sculpt. Again, I don't know if it really lands perfectly a likeness to Kurt Russell, but it's pretty good for the size of the figure. Now, with this one also as well is the fact that he does have the additional now dynamite strapped onto the front of his body. It does add a lot more and definitely does differentiate this one from the other two McCreadys, but it does, again, cause problems when it comes to rotating the figure's arms. Not as much on this side, but definitely on this side here. One thing I did also want to say before we actually move on to the rest of the figure's body is I do wish that, and we have yet to really get this one with any of the McCreadys, whether it be this one, whether it be the Station Survival, or just before that, of course, the Outpost 31. One thing is consistent with all of these is yet they have yet to really frost the beard. I did quote at the beginning of this review, I did quote the end of the film. I mean, in the end, we have more of a frostbitten McCready that has, like, again, the snow all over his beard, all over his hair. At some point, I would really have loved if we could have gotten that version of McCready, where, again, like you could call it frostbitten McCready. I mean, really, by calling this Last Stand, and by even in the fact that they are using an image on the front of the box of a more frostbitten McCready, I really wish that this figure could have also had some additional white frosted on the front of his face, at least in the beard area, and also on his hair. Even really, they could have also added it onto his jacket. I mean, if you were to say, look at this one, and then you look at Station Survival, there really isn't a lot of difference. I mean, there's a little bit of additional, I would almost even want to say it's a lighter white that they've kind of brushed onto it, but not nearly to the point where I really feel like this guy's been outside for a while. It's just one thing I really wish that the figure could have possibly had. Now, when it comes to his legs, I'm just going to bring back in the original previous McCready's to show you that the harness seems to be the same as well as the holster on the side. One thing, though, is different is the coloring of the brown that they went with. This is more kind of a chestnut brown. The original McCready to that was actually more of a lighter brown. And even the McCready before that was actually missing a gun altogether. The Outpost 31 McCready never had an actual gun belt wrapped around his torso. The lower end of his legs do have a little bit of additional kind of scuff to it, adding some white. But again, like just had carried over this to the rest of the figure's body. I think that really would have sold this even further as being a Last Stand McCready. Okay, so let's look through the figure's articulation. For this, I'm actually going to just remove the head for right now because I did want to take the hat off just in case I actually snag it in the process. I've already broken one thing. Let's not break anything else. For the figure's articulation, McCready is going to have a ball joint, so the head rotates back and forth. It looks up, but by looking it up as far as I just did, usually then divorces the head from the rest of the neck. So you want to make sure that, again, you bring the head back, but not too far. You have the head looking down also as well. You can rock it back and forth, but again, like rocking it back and forth, unless you really have the head all the way on there, is usually prone to popping the head off the ball joint. As for the arms come out at 90 degrees, I think it would be safe to say. I mean, a little less than maybe 90 degrees. You can take the arms and normally this would be the time I would say you'd be able to rotate them all the way around. And for the most part, you can. You just want to make sure that you're not hitting the dynamite. Not figuratively, like, I guess literally you'd still be banging it on the front. Just don't light it, whatever you do. But yeah, they do rotate all the way around. The figure does have a single hinge only in his elbow. It allows at least the forearm to rotate back and forth, and the hands rotate all the way around. I mean, again, if you have already the two McCreadys, you're pretty much treated to the same level of posability when it comes to this release. He has an upper torso ball joint. There goes the head. He has an upper torso ball joint. The legs do split out. Just be careful of the holster on the side. They are ball joints, once again, inside the thighs. You can take the legs and move them forward. You can move them back. A swivel at the top of the thigh, single hinge on the knee. It allows at least the lower leg to rotate. An up and down motion not only on the ankle this way, but you can also, of course, like the other two McCreadys, you can also move the ankle this way as well. Still, again, like it is the third McCready that we have gotten. And I think, once again, we're getting a McCready that at least gets new accessories. The articulation is going to be exactly the same. Bringing in the other two McCreadys, Outpost 31 and Station Survival, to really then look at them. There is a little bit of the white that has been added. I mean, to compare really just the jackets alone, you can see that NECA did go in there, to their credit, and add a little bit of white to, say, like his jacket and a little area to his pants. But I wish they had also carried that trend also over to his head sculpt, because again, like if he's last stand McCready, and looking and judging by the image on the front of the box, this guy's outside. This guy is literally, it's his last stand. I really feel like he should have been frosted up a lot more than what he is. Maybe, you never know. We may be getting another release of NECA releasing a McCready down the road that is going to be completely frostbitten McCready. I'd still pick him up, because the likelihood, with the case of the other two McCreadys we've already had a look at, each one of the releases that NECA has done, even though they are using the same mold, they've thrown in different accessories every single time. Well, I have been asking around if anybody had any conversations with the lantern handle, and Blair said he was talking to it earlier, but I don't know. Blair seems strange lately. While I am looking, though, still for the handle and final looks, I've got the figure displayed here with one of the Molotov cocktails in one hand and the flare to ignite it with the other. Now, I don't have right now the other Molotov cocktails stored in the side holsters that come included with them, just because, again, in order to get the arms to move forward like this, unfortunately, those bottles do kind of get in the way of things. And as you saw in this review, if you have the bottle too far down into the holster, trying to remove it may be difficult without ripping one of the rags in the process. At least I've got extras to work with. And while, yes, it is still the same McCready that we've gotten before, the lower legs are still the same, the boots and the arms. They have at least changed the torso. There's enough at least changes made by NECA's part to at least feel like when you're picking this one up, it's not just a carbon copy, which is ironic for me to be saying it, talking about Blair and talking about the Thing. It's not just a carbon copy to the other two Outpost 31 and Station Survival McCready that we did get. They're close enough, but they're not quite. Still, though, at some point, the one missed opportunity is not by frosting this guy a lot more than what he is. I think, again, they probably should have added a lot more white to his beard, a lot more to his hair. They have added and teased some of it on his hat, on his legs, and of course on his jacket, but I would have upped the ante with the level of snow that's settled on McCready's body. Big thank you once again to the folks over at NECA Toys that did come through and provide the sample of the Last Stand McCready that we can have a look at in this review. Even though this is marking the third time we've gotten a McCready figure, this is now marking the fifth time we've gotten ourselves a Thing character as a figure release. And while that may seem like a math problem, we also did get ourselves a San Diego Comic-Con. I think it was a San Diego Comic-Con. That was the Parka poster figure. The one, of course, that has like the blare of light that's coming from the middle of his face. I'd love at some point, I know that one's going for crazy, stupid money. I'd love to get my hands on that one at some point. And of course, it's recently released. NECA has done also the Thing dog. Definitely looking forward to getting my hands on that. And I hope that's the start of getting more Thing monsters. I talked a little bit earlier about Blair. I'd love to get a Blair monster. I think there's a lot of opportunities still for NECA to release Thing characters and to not just always be McCready. But what do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you had the chance to get Last Stand McCready, and how do you have the figure displayed? Also as well, hey now, if you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and you'd like to stick around for more, I can tell you one thing, we are going to be looking at some more NECA reviews. If that's the kind of thing that brings all the boys to the yard. I'd like to think you're coming back to other things as well, but specifically, if NECA's the thing that you like to come and watch the reviews for the most, just know we're going to be doing a lot more of that in the upcoming videos. And of course, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.